A guy named Vincent, a financial market analyst in Studio City, said, there was this yoga studio that I no longer go to because the class was an hour and a half, and the parking meter only allowed 1 hour of parking. And as I looked around, I realized there was a problem everywhere. The signs, and I'll tell you, Studio City is notorious for this. There are so many conflicting signs on Ventura Boulevard where you park.
Yeah.
There's one particular restaurant that I take the family out to frequently, and my wife has gotten several tickets in front of this restaurant because it is impossible to determine what the rule is. There are 3 conflicting signs that make no sense. John and Ken Show, John Cobalt and Ken Champeau, KFI, AM 640 more, stimulating talk radio. One of the most impressive things about living in Los Angeles, and if you don't live in L.A., yeah, you're really missing out. It's the parking meters, and it's the parking enforcement agents who terrorize everybody with their $67 tickets for the slightest infractions. They lie in wait, waiting to pounce on the slightest mistake. You can't even be 30 seconds late without them whacking a ticket. And these people are obnoxious and offensive.
Well, John has some allies now. A couple of guys have gotten together to work on the Parking Meter Freedom Initiative. And they're going to go for a ballot measure if they can't get city officials to agree with their proposals. We've been talking about them. We've had Jay Bieber on. We're also going to get Stephen Vincent. Jay Bieber's been on our show many times before working on stopping the red light cameras. And Stephen approached Jay about this idea over the parking meter. So we're going to get a chance now to talk to Stephen, too.
Stephen, thanks for coming on.
Oh, it's my pleasure, and thank you very much for having us.
All right. Well, so tell us about this yoga studio problem you had.
Well, I'm a yoga teacher, one of the things I do anyway, and there's a studio I used to like to go to in Sherman Oaks. And, then they up and changed the parking conditions there. There was no parking between 6 and 8 p.m. or after 6 p.m. They put it up to 8 p.m., and then they made all the meters in the area 1 hour. Well, lo and behold, yoga classes last an hour and a half. That puts you pretty much in a bind, in terms of attending the class.
Even if they were exactly an hour, the classes, you still have the walk time, the dressing, the undressing, the walking back, the talking with your friends, and all that.
Yeah, it was pretty ridiculous. And the studio ended up having to hire a ballet company. And fortunately, they were doing well enough to support that. But still, that's not something they should have had to have done. And, and this kind of story has repeated itself all over the city. Today, I was contacted after she read the article about us in the Daily News. I was contacted by a theater owner in Hollywood, right on Hollywood's Theater Row. And she said that the same thing has been happening over there. Meters are now an hour, and it's very difficult for theater companies. If you want to have a theater rehearsal and your actors have to go out every hour to feed the meter, that ain't going to work, and it discourages people from renting space there and using their space. So they're really up in arms over this over at Theater Row as well.
All right, so what beyond the time of the parking meters would you guys like to see reformed?
Well, I think it's really the whole panoply. You've got time, the cost of the fees, in other words, how much it costs per hour, and then the fines. And I think we talked about it, and rather than maybe setting an arbitrary limit on these things, what we'd actually like to do is see a system whereby the theater companies in Theater Row and the yoga studio and the restaurants in Sherman Oaks can have a direct voice in formulating an effective policy for that area, so that the fines and the fees and the hours of coverage and whether there's meters at all is a direct result of the needs of the community rather than the need of the city to basically raise money through the parking system. And that's what I think we're really kind of gravitating towards as the solution. In Westwood, maybe a $63 parking ticket is what you need in Westwood to incentivize people to park legally and to pay the meter, and get back in time. Maybe. I tend to think it's excessive no matter where you are.
Oh, it is. It is excessive because you're not harming anybody because you're over time on a meter. You know, you haven't physically hurt anyone. You haven't stolen anything. You're just late because, as you said, it's hard to time what you need to do, whether you're going to a restaurant or a theater or a yoga studio. It's hard to put it in the parameters of that parking meter.
Exactly. And
what you said earlier was that, you know, it's a game of gotcha. That's what they, you know, that's what this is. It's a game of gotcha. And here's another thing that they do. We understand that they change the parking regulations on a street, or they put up temporary no parking, and then they start ticketing everybody that's parked there.
Yeah.
So we said, you know, at least if you're going to make a change, you got to have a 24-hour grace period before you're allowed to ticket anybody.
Oh, absolutely. But I think the whole system is set up just to make as much money as possible.
Yeah.
You know, that's why you have hour meters in front of theaters in the North Hollywood district. It would be simply just to get all that money because they know how long it takes to go to the theater.
They can turn it over and over and over and over.
Yeah. All right.
So what kind of response have you gotten from anybody at the city? I see you're working with a councilman. You're talking to a councilman?
Well, we've had a couple of people mention in the news story. No one's talked to me directly, but I don't know, Stephen, has anybody talked to you directly?
Well, I did come across visiting the West Side Alliance of Regional Councils. I was in contact with the mayor's official there, and you know, he wanted to make the point that the new Garcetti administration is different from the prior administration, and that they are open to seeing changes made. And you know, they did put up that new website recently about the parking, about the street cleaning violations, and that's a good step in the right direction. What we want to see is a public service orientation coming from the city rather than a revenue collection.
Right, exactly. They should help make our life easier. Not steal money from us and make our life more difficult.
Absolutely. The city's supposed to provide services, not the other way around.
Right, yeah, exactly. You provide parking services. You don't set up a gotcha system where you end up having to pay hundreds of dollars.
How many of
these? We should get the name of the website in here. It's parkinglosangeles.org. If people want to visit the website, sign up, help us out. You know, there's a lot to find on that website. So it's parkinglosangeles.org. It's spelled out completely.
So what's your time frame for doing all this? I mean, when might you be looking at a ballot initiative if you don't get what you want from the city?
Well, we're looking at we're doing research and outreach right now. We're reaching out to the neighborhood councils, the chambers of commerce, the residents associations, and any other stakeholders that we can get a hold of to get from them, hey, what do you need? What is going to make things work for you as far as parking in Los Angeles? We want to get that from them, and then formulate a plan. And we're looking for people to join a committee, form a committee, and then if the city will adopt what we come up with as a result of really reaching out and getting all the information necessary and finding out what people need, then fine. You know, we won't have to take it to a ballot initiative. But if they don't, then we're going to have to get 60,000 valid signatures to put it on the ballot for November 2014 and legislate from the street via our own ballot initiative.
All right, well, we're there for you. If you get to a ballot, you just let us know, all
yeah,
right?
Keep us updated on your progress. We'll have you on occasionally. All right, Stephen Vincent, thanks for coming on. Jay Bieber, good to hear from you again.
Same